You're watching BBC One. Now, The Clothes Show.
Being anorexic and a model wasn't a problem. It was endorsed. The thinner I got, the more work I got, the more money I was making. So it took me quite a long time to realise I was also, you know, halfway to death's door.
This time of year, many men up and down the country are seized with the uncontrollable urge to dress up in women's clothing. Why? Now the Clothes Show, in its unflinching crusade to bring you the facts, turns the spotlight on the pantomime day. Mr. Inman.
Oh, darling, you're early. I'm not ready yet. You'll have to come back in half an hour.
Well, should we do voiceover then?
Yeah, all right.
Okay, cool. John Inman has been a professional pantomime dame for the past 33 years. This year, he's Mother Goose. Philip Jarvis is married with 2 children. By day, he is a painter and decorator. By night, he's Mrs. Sinbad. At last, these men talk frankly to the Clothes Show.
Basically, I've always been the company's comedian. So obviously the pantomime dame is the comedian.
What I get out of it is the biggest kick, it is like a fix, is that wave of laughter. And on Boxing Day morning, and Boxing Day afternoon, I should say, that wonderful smell of orange peel and wee-wee wafting towards you when the curtain goes up for your Christmas party.
You start off by having a big bust to begin with. That's I think, essential.
What the Lord has forgotten, we'll pad with cotton.
It's the bosom. I'll breathe in. You can push them up. Les Dawson style.
Are there certain key gestures that you can rely on, that you know, that one?
Yes, Jack Tripp is a great one for doing that. I think he has a whole routine that goes, a 1, a 2, a 3, oh well.
There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world.
Do we surrender, lads? No, we fight.
I couldn't do a dame without a funny costume. They help shield Philip Jarvis.
Yes.
He's a jolly fellow anyway, you know, as it goes on, but as soon as he puts his costumes on, he goes.
Well, I've seen the lady going round Quicksave in a very similar outfit.
Before we do anything, we've got that.
Yes.
We need bunting, we need red, white and blue. There's no point in having a very elaborate costume and playing a scene where you fall on your bum. You've got to know what you're actually going to do in it. The whole thing is going to be magical. You never find that in Dorothy Perkins. It's really nice to have a new frock every now and again.
There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day.
Acetate slipper satin is all very well, but I'm here to get to the bottom of things. And we'll be asking other deeply probing questions like, just how does he explain the meaning of this?
This is the one I want, because this is the one I'm going to use with the new red, white and blue frock. That's my kettle.
So just how does a panto dame put on her makeup?
Well, the first thing you've got to do is get rid of your eyebrows.
Very high eyebrows. Kissy lips, definitely.
And quite a big bottom lip, so that you get that.
And exaggerated.
It all sort of comes to life as soon as I put these little old boots on there. But it's a very busy frock, as you can see. You can see it all moving now. It's very, there you are. Oh, Girls, do you know what a time I've had? I do treat it like a costume and not like putting on women's clothes. They are costumes. There's not a pot washed, not a chamber emptied, not a sausage pricked. That'll be your father. Hello, kids!
It's nice that he's so popular with the audience and that, and they're all saying, oh, that's your dad, isn't it?
Isn't he masterful? The audience know that you're a man, so you can get away with such a lot. In that you can deliver lines that are obviously provocative, and they know that you don't really mean it. There's no need to take liberties.
If I meet the squire and I say, oh, girls, a man at last. Oh, I'm going on the boil now. Every time a bit goes on, you know, it's another laugh as far as I'm concerned.
Now, why is she actually dressed like that?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I've no idea. It was just that I wanted something very colourful. I haven't had, ever, a Union Jack frock. It's for when royalty comes to tea. That's why she's got the kettle on.
This has been Karen Franklin reporting for The Clothes Show, Sunday at 5-ish.
You have been nice. It's been so nice to see you. You're a dowdy little thing, though, aren't you? Here. Try that. Oh, much better.
For the last 12 months, the first 3 letters of the alphabet for those of us involved in the planning of 1993 Clothes Show Live have been NEC. But for those of you with a more orthodox approach, here is the ABC of the event. A is for Enoki, who'll be showing their wonderful Indian fashions and demonstrating printing on fabrics using wooden blocks. B is for designer. That's if your name is Ben DeLisi, a former restaurateur from New York, or Betty Jackson from Bradford, who trained in fashion design here in Birmingham. C is for Cosmetics to Go, who always manage to produce something original out of the bath. And D is for Doc Martens, who'll be showing their new range of clothing. E is for Elizabeth Arden, whose makeup teams will be involved in the makeover areas. And F is for men. Well, if it's for him, everything to do with menswear and men's grooming. G is for cobblers, or George Cox, shoemaker from Northampton. H is for Scandinavia, or more like it, high street fashion from Hennes. I is for Inti, which used to be the unit currency of Peru, the South American country we visited earlier on in the year, which left the viewers wanting more. Well, if it's more you want, it'll be here at Clothes Show Live. J is for Janet Coles, who'll be casting a beady eye or two over the proceedings, and K is for who else but Catherine Hamnet. L is for mail order with Littlewoods, M is for Main Street fashion with Marks and Spencer's. Also from the High Street, N is for Next, O is for Oakland menswear. Pamplemousse, Pink Soda and Pretty Polly are not exactly peas in a pod, but they are big names in British fashion. Q is for questions, and you'll be able to ask lots at the Lloyds Bank Fashion Workshops, where we'll be putting fashion professionals, including Clothes Show presenters, on the spot or under the spotlight every day of the show. R is for Wayne's World, or rather Renegades of Fashion, Red or Dead. S is for Shelter. And if you're planning to come along to Clothes Show Live with the express intention of going home with lots of new things for the wardrobe, why not make room for the new stuff by bringing along all of your unwanted clothes to build a clothes mountain here at the NEC. T is for therapy, and in the case of Tisserand, we're talking aromatherapy. U is for the University of Central England, which to me and Betty Jackson was Birmingham Polytechnic. It's one of 16 colleges that are going to be showing their clothes and selling their wares to potential students. V is for vegetables and vegans, and shoes from the Vegetarian Shoe Company. W is for Weller, the hair people that are going to be cutting, curling and crimping on the makeover stands. X is for Extra Special, and that's what we hope our Bride of the Year will feel when we announce the results of our telephone poll in the Fashion Theatre at 3 o'clock on the Saturday afternoon. Y is for Yes Magazine, who are going to be giving free makeovers to those larger-than-life ladies that like to describe themselves as lavish women. And Z, Zips. We reckon that some 25,000 zip fasteners will be zipped and unzipped during 6 days of continuous fashion shows. We're all going to be here, so if you'd like to join us, why don't you telephone the NEC hotline on 021 767 4444. Celtic, Byzantine, Maltese, Diamante or just plain wooden, this year's hottest fashion accessory is straight out of the cloisters. If you want to be chic, you've got to have a cross to bear. But have fashion designers gone too far with their ecclesiastical decor? Does holy chic mock the religious?
Well, I think if it's just a good luck symbol, and I'm not very enthusiastic about it. But if it's a sign that there is a spiritual dimension in life, I would encourage the wearing of crosses.
Now, one fashion journalist wrote the Pope should canonise Christian Lacroix for actually bringing the cross back as a piece of fashion jewellery. Do you think she was going a bit over the top in going quite that far?
Yes, I do think going over the top. But I don't think that we should make anybody saints as a result of it. But I broadly welcome it.
Would you wear a cross or a crucifix as a piece of fashion jewellery?
No, I wouldn't.
Why is that?
I always associate a cross with Christ, and I don't think I'd feel quite right wearing one.
Mine's Celtic cross, so I wear it because I'm interested in like Celtic art and the history of the Celts. So I don't see it should offend people. It's not a Latin cross, so to me it doesn't represent the crucifixion or the death of Christ or anything like that.
Yeah, it's a piece of jewellery though, it's nothing to do with religion, is it?
Nobody's ever complained about my earrings or...
What, are you wearing... Oh yes, you're wearing
little
there.
cross earrings, yes.
And what you were about to...
Da-da-da-da.
Image which we now treat as hope and salvation and fortitude and courage. It's interesting to note that something which was once upon a time treated as being such horror and something to be feared became an emblem that was to be loved, looked for, held on to, grasped and adored.
Currently, debate rages throughout the fashion industry as to the responsibility we must all take where the eating disorders anorexia nervosa and bulimia nervosa are concerned. Certainly, the continual promotion of fashion imagery that endorses thin as beautiful is finally being questioned by thinking journalists. The 60s saw a gaggle of young, thin women elevated to international stardom. They looked like they ate nothing and they modelled designer clothes. Nearly 30 years later, the supermodels, women in their mid-20s with visible breasts and hips, are being replaced in favour of the super waif, younger women with protruding hip bones and bodies that look frail. It's heralded as a new mood, a new look. In fact, it's nothing new at all. This time, however, we realise the consequences of this so-called new look are potentially dangerous. 25% of anorexic sufferers are women. The refusal of food so that the body becomes weak and unable to function affects up to 50,000 young women at secondary school. Other eating disorders, such as bulimia, a binging and purging method of controlling weight and food intake, affects a further 100,000 women. Anorexia has the highest death rate of all mental disorders. Up to 10% of anorexic women starve to death or commit suicide.
They're never happy when they come here, never. And they really are very depressed, they're lethargic, they're anxious, they don't sleep well, they've no friends. They usually have got to the stage where they just are so tired all the time and cold that they don't socialise, they don't want to go out, they don't really want to do anything very much except worry about how to avoid the next meal.
3 years ago, Dr. Dee Dawson set up Rhodes Farm. Within a caring family environment, she provides psychological support, health education and a careful diet to encourage young people suffering anorexia back to health.
They have the idea that to be perfect, to be successful, to be popular, to have lots of friends, you have to be able to get into a size 10 dress. And if you can't, then you're not perfect enough.
It seemed like everywhere you looked in magazines, they were just thin people, and it was like, if you're this thin, you can be happy too, and you can be liked.
And like when I saw really thin models, I thought, there can't be anything wrong with being thin, so there's nothing wrong with me being thin. I don't think it would be fair to say that thin models or portraying people as size 8s, you can't say that's the cause of somebody becoming anorexic, but it must have a part to play, because after all, most of these girls are trying to look like somebody that they've seen in a magazine.
The diet industry and the fashion industry support each other. Whilst fashion magazines carry pictures of svelte models wearing great clothes alongside lose weight fast articles, slimming magazines sell stories of women who, having temporarily lost weight, can at last look good in fashionable clothes. For the diet industry to exist, we have to be convinced that our bodies are wrong in the first place. So are fashion magazine editors concerned about the message they and the fashion industry are pushing?
You can't suddenly sit down and say, we're not going to use anyone if they're thinner than a size 10. I mean, that would be prejudiced.
Would you use anyone who was over 16?
To show how good clothes can look, probably not, no.
I think this one look, this desperate sort of cry, even like a pathetic victim look, is something about challenging an idea that women can actually be strong.
In a way, it was meant to be something about youth, it was meant to be something about freedom, it's something about not having to dress the way that your mother did. Your mother wore, you know, a power suit with a short skirt and gold buttons, and you did too. And suddenly there was this new way of looking, that you could look young and you could look skinny and kind of unkempt, and that was fashionable too.
Although some models may be naturally thin and completely blameless for the debates that follow, thin generally is not a natural state for the majority of women.
Being anorexic and a model wasn't a problem, it was endorsed. The thinner I got, the more work I got, the more money I was making. So it took me quite a long time to realise I was also, you know, halfway to death's door. I think the modelling industry does endorse anorexia in that way. It's okay to be thin. In fact, it's positively beautiful and good. I think that probably about 90% of models that I know have had or do have some kind of eating disorder or another, whether it's anorexia, bulimia, or just controlled eating, which is unhealthy because most models are quite young when they start. So if you're controlling your intake, you're risking your health.
There's no one cause for anorexia or bulimia. Some experts believe these people are born with a predisposition to develop eating disorders which surface often during puberty when worries and problems become overwhelming.
Things that you just forget about became a major problem, and there was family problems and a lot of pressure from school, and there were just, everything seemed to become pressure and weigh me down.
I was desperate to please my parents, and I was getting B's but not A's, so that wasn't good enough for me. I think I just thought that I didn't feel in control of my life, and subconsciously, by controlling what I ate and what went into my body, was one way of me feeling good, and that I was good at something and that I could control what I ate.
This culture preys upon our insecurities and leads us to believe that our strong, healthy bodies are wrong. In fact, women are pressured at every turn to lose weight, and many who say they are dieting are existing on starvation rations. Continual lack of nourishment can affect our bodies.
We've managed to get women to do things much more bizarre than foot binding on a voluntary basis, that we will feel that it's part of our identity to resculpt our bodies. So there's a tremendous cultural presence which we all are involved in, and we all participate in. We bring our little girls up to be incredibly concerned about their appearance, to watch how they use their bodies, to think in terms of prettiness. And we now see little girls being preoccupied, even at 4, 5 and 6, with notions of fat tummies and thin tummies.
In fact, we all need to question our behaviour, parents included.
Try not to have your battles around food. There are lots of battles between parents and children. Have it around something else, because if that becomes the battleground and the child loses its organic relationship to appetite, it's ripe for picking up what is a major psychological symptom and using that to work out all sorts of other struggles.
If somebody is crying for help and starving themselves to death, then the most important thing is to try somehow very gently to start up some kind of communication, because you need to address the problem, the cause of the anorexia, rather than the anorexia itself, which seems to me to be a symptom.
I don't think I'm thin when I look in the mirror, so I don't see it, so I just see lots of fats and I hate it. I thought, well, if I can lose a bit, I can go on and lose more. And then I couldn't stop after I'd started losing. It's just like an addiction kind of thing. You get addicted to it and you end up in a lot of trouble and a mess that you didn't really want to be in the first place.
If you or someone you know can identify with any of the symptoms we have described, help is available through the National Eating Disorders Association helpline on 0603 621 414 or on their special youth helpline 0603 765 050. Trained volunteers will take your call and can put you in touch with support groups in your area. I believe that we in the fashion industry have a responsibility to address the images we construct and the message we sell, but it can't stop there. We know that little girls understand about their future as adult women from mothers and other female relatives, and if dieting and constant dislike of our bodies becomes part of their understanding about life as a grown woman, what message are we giving them? Perhaps it's time we all acknowledged our responsibilities.
And Karen Franklin presents a personal account of how her sister dealt with anorexia in the January issue of the BBC's Close Show magazine.